Nigeria, and particularly northern Nigeria, faces a number of insecurity challenges. This insecurity takes various forms, including insurgency, terrorism, communal clashes, banditry, kidnapping, and piracy, fueled by socioeconomic, ethnic, and sometimes religious tensions. Northern Nigeria has a deep historical foundation of insecurity, especially insurgency led by Boko Haram and its offshoot ISWAP, resulting in a severe humanitarian crisis that has seen millions displaced and widespread destruction. Can there be an end to this? What can the government do to put an end to this menace? These are questions still begging for answers. Tonight, let's explore from the vast knowledge of Senator Shehu Sani, author, playwright, human rights activist, and politician. Senator, good evening to you, sir. Thank you for coming on Politics Tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start this conversation with your assessment of the security situation in Nigeria. Have we made any progress in this fight against banditry in the north? And having studied the approach of the service chiefs in the last 1 year, are you impressed with your strategies at tackling this monster?
Well, it is important first that we recognize the fact that banditry in the northwest and terrorism in the northeastern part of Nigeria is not something that started in the last 10, 12, or 13 months. This has been a product of years of failure by successive administrations in this country. And now a monster is created in the northern part of Nigeria. Bandits picking up arms, kidnapping people, killing people, raping women, raising communities, extorting ransom, destroying our agricultural base, kidnapping our students, and shutting down our schools. The point is, where do we come from? The last 8 years will have been an opportunity to address this problem, but the last government failed to do that, despite billions of naira pumped into defense and security apparatus of the state. The fact is that banditry is still going on, terrorism is still going on, but it is now far better than we used to have it in the past. And I can prove this fact. In the last 1 year, there have been attacks on 3 schools in the north, one in Kaduna and one Arabic school in Zamfara and then in Sokoto State. But if you look at what had happened from 2015 to 2023, attacks on schools from Dapchi, the Government Science College Kagara, the Government Secondary School Kankara, to University, Greenfield University in Kaduna, Bethel Baptist High School in Kaduna, Federal Government Girls College, Yauri, and so on and so forth, Jengibe, and so many places. Now, there is some form of security in our schools in the north. And I am conducting this interview from Kaduna, and I know very well that in 8 years, from 2015 to 2023, kidnappings along Kaduna-Abuja Road was almost a daily affair. Sometimes it is even done 3 to 4 times in the same period of time. But now people at least can drive from Kaduna to Abuja, and the incidents of kidnapping there are very few. But that does not remove the fact that kidnappings and killings are still going on. But I think one of the reasons for this has to do with the very fact that this issue of banditry and terrorism has been allowed for a very long time to fester. All strategy that has been used has not actually produced result, for the very fact that the people, the masses of the people in the rural areas and those in the fringes of the cities that ought to have been the backbone of the fight against terrorism were actually not fully engaged. There is nowhere in the whole part of the north where bandits would operate without the knowledge of the locals. These locals are not from Mali, they are not from Congo. These Fulani bandits in the northwestern part of Nigeria, they are our people, they come from us, they are from our region, and everyone knows who they are. So the point is that you need to use the people to be able to get over this banditry. It's very important. Intelligence gathering is very important. Use of technology is very important, because things that
Senator Shehu Sani, can you hear me? You know, the conversation about whether or not these bandits are our people is very subjective, because we've heard Governor Caleb Mothwang say that on different occasions he has said that these bandits are foreign mercenaries. But because, I mean, a lot of times you've consistently said when it comes to insecurity, governors can do more than talking. But these days it's either they accuse traditional rulers and local authorities have collaborated with the bandits to cause mayhem among innocent citizens, or they blame military personnel for what they call their lackadaisical attitude. But because you're here tonight, when you say governors can do more than talking, what exactly are they not doing right, Senator? Senator Shehu Sani, did you get my question? All right. Senator, did you get that question?
I get the question, and I'm going to answer it. Can you hear me well?
All right, sir. Please go ahead.
Now, I didn't exclude the fact that there are some elements of foreign presence in the banditry and terrorism going on. But let's look at it, and I speak with facts. Bello Turji is a known bandit and criminal. He operates in Sokoto and Zamfara State. He's from Sokoto. Alero is from Zamfara State. Kachalla moves within Kaduna and Niger State. Valeri is all from Kaduna State and operates also within part of Zamfara. These are known kingpins and terrorists who are all from northern part of Nigeria. I have never heard of any name of any terrorists that come from Mali or Zambia or Namibia. All of them are people, and the locals know who they are. So I think it is time for us to own up to the reality of what we need to do. And this problem is particularly the North. Northern leaders must sit down, must come out with a strategy that will involve the locals in tackling this problem. Because the point is that nobody is going to come to the northern part of Nigeria and invest money when people are being kidnapped and ransom is being paid. Look at what happened in Kaduna, say, in the last few years, before 2023. Bethel Baptist, when it was attacked and students were kidnapped, Bethel Baptist High School, the parents had to sell everything they had, go into debt, beg, gather money, and pay kidnappers. Now, this is all what is going on in the country. There are communities where you can't even go to your farms. You have to pay levies and fines to the bandits in order to... And people who say they should dialogue with these bandits, dialogue has been going on, ransom has been paid, but they still go back to their acts of criminality. I think it is time for us, if nations like Algeria, that is almost twice the size of Nigeria, can protect their borders, if countries that like Congo can protect their country, if countries like Morocco and Tunisia can all protect their country, the land borders, there is no reason why we should not be able to do it. And the question people used to ask is because, people say is because of poverty. There is poverty in Niger Republic, and they don't have the banditry we have. There is poverty in Benin Republic. People are not engaged in banditry. There is poverty in Chad. There is poverty in Cameroon. So it's not the reason for people picking up arms to start killing people and extorting ransom. It is a fact that our security agencies need to engage the people so that we can do away with this bandit. If you calculate the whole number of these bandits that operate in northwestern part of Nigeria, they're not up to 5,000. Why can't we go after them and bring this into an end for once and for all?
But Senator, when you look at this latest strategy by government, the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawalle, and the military chiefs have arrived to Sokoto State as part of efforts to rid the state and the entire northwest of rampant banditry. What does it mean to you? Does it go down well with you? Because security experts have said this development has its pros and cons. But from your own end, does it represent a clear understanding of the strategy needed to wipe out these bandits? Especially because President Buhari also adopted the same strategy.
Well, the difference between that of Buhari and now is that there are results. And I know there are prominent terrorists and bandits that operate in the north. In the last 12 months, they have been eliminated. And I know perhaps for human rights reasons, government do not also want to show, or security agencies don't want to show the corpses of things like that. But actually, I can confirm that progress has been made. Now, President Buhari at a certain time too has ordered his service chiefs to move to the center of the crisis, the violence and the terrorism. And now it happens, but this is the first time it's now happening. So we hope that the presence of Chief of Defense Staff and Minister of State of Defense in Sokoto State will bring an end to Turji and his gang, because Turji is the known gang, the known criminal that has been operating within that zone and with reckless abandon until we get him out, before we'll have peace in Sokoto, Zamfara, and Kebbi State. Because it's as if they have mapped out the areas for them to operate. Turji operates within Sokoto, Zamfara, and Kebbi. Kachela is operating within Naja and Kaduna. Alero between Katsina and Zamfara. So until you get down all these people, before the attacks going on even in the north-central part of Nigeria is coordinated by these bandits in the northwest. Sometimes when a person is kidnapped in Kaduna,
do you think they should be in Sokoto or Zamfara states? Because there is this argument about whether or not Sokoto is the epicenter. Why should they be in Sokoto state and not Zamfara state? What's your own argument?
Well, as long as they are within those three states, whether it's Sokoto, Zamfara, or Kebbi, they are still operating within that axis. Even if it's Niger state, all that should be that they should be northwestern. Where banditry is taking place, and they are there now, and we hope and lead way for this country.
All right, let's talk about another very critical matter. You know, bandits and terrorists in northern Nigeria are now effectively using social media, and their favorite app is TikTok. I mean, these bandits offer to render financial assistance to followers on TikTok. It's obviously clear that TikTok platform has given room for insurgents to promote their campaign of terror without being restricted. And I remember that in one of your tweets, you said social media apps wouldn't allow this in other countries. Aren't we in a bigger problem?
Yeah, I think it is time also people should ask questions, and I believe they are also asking. Many are asking that question. You can get a SIM card and use it without it being registered. And in the 21st century technology, there is no way you can use a SIM card without you being detected by satellites either within or outside the country. So the question we should ask the NCC, how will bandits be using these SIM cards with all the hoopla about being registered with NIN, with BVN, with all those things now? Millions and hundreds of billions were spent. And then terrorists are using social media platform. You can use the social media platform if you are not connected through network. So the question which the NCC should be able to answer is, why should all these things here be happening? Is it that they provide information to security agencies about the movement of these bandits through their SIM cards and the security agency is not utilizing it, or what actually is the problem? I think these are all issues we need to, because they have become more daring, or more confident, more audacious now in their acts. They made videos in the past. Terrorist groups in the northeastern part of Nigeria, they cover their faces and now record videos and then send out the content. But the bandits in the northwest are not even putting masks. They are open, and they say, here we are. And you can see the vegetation, where they are even operating. So you ask questions that agencies of government that have been paid with taxpayers' money, seeing all these things happening. And then I also ask the social media app, you can't be a TikTok in any of European countries or any of Northern American countries and see someone brandishing weapons, even shooting people, and then you are allowing him to use your own app to send messages outside. Such things don't happen in other countries. And I think it is also time for us to bring to the notice of these companies, these tech firms, that there is the need for decorum, that our national security is involved, and such people should not be granted such kind of publicity, because social media now has become so available for them to even recruit people into their own fold and to also send messages of threats to people. So this has to be addressed, and NCC has to give us a clear explanation on why we should register SIM card and link it up with NIN and Vivian and all those things here. And these things are happening and nobody is doing anything about it.
But what challenge has this posed to Nigeria's intelligence agency? Do you think there's a weak link to the functionality of our intelligence agencies?
Well, I don't know how intelligence agencies operate. But to me, as a layman, if we have 35 villages from Kaduna to Abuja, and I don't see the reason why any of these villages there should be no presence of an ununiformed security agent. And there is no reason why people should not be paid to provide information to security agencies. And bandits pay people to give them information. They also pay people to help them to succeed. So if they can do that, we should also be able to do that. And people should also understand that there is a difference between the banditry in the northwest and the banditry in the northeastern part of Nigeria. The northeastern part of Nigeria, terrorism, people are Islamist jihadists who use Islam, picking up arms with the hope that their struggle will usher in a theocratic Islamic state in Nigeria. But the bandits in the northwestern part of Nigeria are being driven by money. They simply kidnap, and then they collect money, and then they release their victims. And if they are not being paid, they kill their victims. So that is the way they operate. That is why you will see that some hostages, when they are taken by Islamists, no money can get them out because they have their own ideological agenda. But the bandits here, they are there for money. And that is why there is no settlement, there is no peace talks with people who have turned kidnapping into business that will bring an end to kidnapping, because they have been used to collecting hundreds of millions. And these things are operating in our very time, before our very eyes.
Okay, because you've talked about money, Senator, is there a place for how protection payments to militias have escalated conflict in the north, especially in communities where resistance occurs, when a community pays a militia to protect them? And I'm asking that question because kidnapping has become more lethal. And according to a recent report released by Gobert Development Association, reporting that Sokoto communities paid 160 billion naira ransoms and levies to bandits. Will kidnapping for ransom ever be eliminated? Should the law prohibit paying ransom to kidnappers, as suggested by the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru?
Well, you see, the dilemma of this issue is that if you pay ransom, you have provided them enough resources to buy more arms and to go for other hostages. And if you refuse to pay ransom, you will sacrifice the life of the hostages that are with them. But the question is, why are bandits not operating in Niger Republic? Why are they not operating in Benin Republic? The point and the fact, or the truth of the matter, is that the communities there, the locals there, don't give a room for that. If you see any stranger within the area you live, you make reports. And when you make reports, the security agencies immediately respond to that. So here is not the case. The people are more or less safer when they identify with the bandits, because the bandits protect them, than when they do with security agencies that they may be exposed, and at a certain time, there may not be a rapid response to rescue them. So the people are in between the security agencies and the bandits. And now winning the people will be winning the war against banditry, which has to be done by all means possible.
Senator, another very worrisome conversation is We've seen bandits surrender their arms after negotiations with state governments. Some of these bandits swore the Holy Quran and went back to their vomit after a few months. What is majorly responsible for that? Would you say the peace deals negotiated so far are badly flawed? Why should we continue to grant amnesty to bandits?
It is laughable when I see people taking bandits by their own words. A man who kills, who rapes, who collects ransom, who has been shedding the blood of innocent people, and then you say he swore by the Holy Quran, and then you believe it. How will that ever work in a society? Let me give you a typical example. There was a time in Burdengwari local government, Kaduna State, where the people sat down with the terrorists or the bandits and agreed that there should be no banditry. The bandits make demands that they should give us also trailers of grain and also amount of money. They paid them, they gave them the trailers of grains, and they paid them money. And the bandits withdrew for 1 week. On the 8th day, they returned back. For such a person who has been shedding the blood of innocent people, you think you can sit down with him and agree at a certain point. It is virtually impossible. The war must be taken to their own land, to their own death, to their own camps. That is how it's supposed to be done. This country has the resources. We have the military. We have the experience to be able to achieve these things here. There's no reason why we should not be able to achieve. Nigeria is not as large as China. It's not as large as Russia. We can achieve that. Our army, our DSS, our police, our civil defense must work out. This is a challenge of our era. This is a challenge of our time. This is the struggle which we need to do. It's a survival game. It's as important as the survival of the country. And we cannot also underrate or demean the effort of security agencies and the military. If not for the military, most of us who are now, even me conducting this interview, it couldn't have been possible. But I can say that we have been achieving some level of progress in the last 12 months, but more needs to be done, and the people have to be involved.
Right. But, Senator, let me quickly tweak that question for the purpose of those who think granting amnesty to bandits has worked in one way or another, because I'm very concerned about how you think we must continue to empower local communities to take ownership of their recovery. How do you think government must ensure these people do not take up these arms again? Is it realistic?
You see, these bandits, if you are privileged to watch their videos, you will see that they have been shedding the bloods of innocent people, and they are neck deep in it. And the idea of bringing them to the civil society, to the people, is a very risky adventure. We have seen how terrorists were being granted amnesty, even given some kaftan to wear, and being presented before the television, and they swore to an oath that they have changed. The next day, they start killing innocent persons. I mean, if those of them who actually want to repent and have actually repented, then they should be used to fight those who refuse to repent. That's how you're supposed to do it, not to bring them to other innocent persons and they started showing their own colors. So to me, I don't think these people are ready to repent. We have to go all out with the might of the state to be able to crush them. Technology is there. How can you tell me that 50, 100 people in a motorcycle will be moving from Zamfara to Kaduna and Niger State on a bike, and we don't have any means of knowing that these people are moving? Come to these villages. They know when these bandits are passing, but nobody will pick phone and call any security agency because of fear of them being exposed. So you have to win the people before you be able to win this war against banditry. It's very important.
So, I mean, you've always said that partnership remains key in fighting insecurity. I'm wondering, do you still stand on that, Senator? And let's be clear, do you exactly mean that Nigeria needs foreign support in fighting banditry and terrorism?
Well, you see, this is the 21st century. Our security strategy should not be one of manning checkpoints and flashing torchlights on the faces of driver and say, on the inner light and open your boot. You can't fight any banditry within that kind of of a cake strategy. You need technology. If we are going to involve the foreign agencies or foreign governments to help us, should be in the area of information, because you need information. If these bandits are moving from Kontagora area in United States and coming to Kaduna State, they don't move in 102. They move in droves of 50, 100. So information needs to be provided to security agencies, and then they should be attacked. This idea of saying that until we get directives to attack is not simply helping us. If you go to Niger East, almost half of the villages in Niger East local government there have been driven out or displaced from their own homes because of the activities of this body. The governors are overwhelmed. They can make contributions to security agencies, but the most important thing we need to do is that these vigilantes, these self-help groups from the masses of the people, from the peasantries and the masses who are determined to volunteer, they need to be trained, they need to be armed to go after these bandits because they don't know the vegetation more than the locals that are in those areas.
But would you support the call for a total rejig of the security architecture of the country?
This architecture, we have been talking of it for so many times, for many years now. Always architecture. Whether you're talking of architecture or not, the point is that we have an army, we have a police, we have a DSS, we have civil defense, we have all sorts of security agencies that are there and are well funded by our. I believe that they can win this battle against banditry. What is needed for them to do is to get information and act immediately. Because this thing is only happening within the borders of Nigeria. I know terrorists do attack military camps in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Niger Republic, but this banditry specifically is happening in northern part of Nigeria. And we can defeat them. We can win over this battle, but security agencies must work together and pay. If they need to pay locals to get information, they have to pay locals. If you need to use one rival group against another, you have to use one rival group against another. That is my own idea of how this issue can actually be tackled, yes.
All right. I mean, you're asking the National Assembly to revisit the Firearms Act. Do you think we must now begin to amend the obsolete Firearms Act to align with global best practices? Is this capable of addressing the problem of proliferation of weapons?
You see, we have to be very careful because as a society where you have everyone can easily go to a shop and buy guns, I don't think in our country there will be a country if we allow that in the next. Because actually everyone will go and get a gun. And what comes out of it? The point is very simple. If there are 20 villages in Zamfara state where you have banditry, bring the youths from those states and recruit them into the security apparatus of the state and return them back to these places to act. That is my own idea of how things work. And if people are going to be armed, there should be, we should have what is called in socialist term, what we call a people's war. There should be a people's war. The people of these rural communities must on this war and go after these bandits. These bandits, you see that 50 of them holding 1,000 people hostage. So how will that ever happen? There must be a people, the rural communities must take up arms against these bandits for us to get all this thing over. This idea of saying bring them to the table and sit down, these are criminals. These are people who have shed so much blood that there is nothing you can do for them other than to avenge the blood of people whom they have shed. This is how we have to go over this thing here. And I believe the military, the police, and other security agencies should be able to do it. And thanks to Ribadu for the fact that since he assumed office, he is one national security advisor. I have been seeing him going to where the bandits are, where the areas of operation are also working. He's been doing his best. And the service chiefs too, I can see some result. But we need more and more because this issue is becoming as important as the survival of our country.